Hey boyos, daily check-in with John V. It is July 16th, 2025. My face looks kind of crappy today. Yeah, the past couple days I've been eating more than I have been, and so maybe I'm a little bit bloated, right? I haven't been eating many oranges. Yesterday I did have an orange. I was making it a point for a while there to eat an orange every day, and then it became just apples every day and bananas, which not as much vitamin C, but whatever. As long as I keep losing weight gradually, I'm fine. Um, but yeah, I've determined that I'm a bit of a fake cell. I'm not an incel, despite what a lot of you guys want to think. I'm not a fucking incel. I'm a fake cell. Um, with fake cells, it's usually guys who are frauding as incel or just prefer the company of incels online, and they think they're an incel, but they're not. They just need to basically touch grass or something like that to, basically turn their life around. And with me, it's, lose the weight, touch grass, be social, get a life, and, I think I could do okay. Like, I have the balls to make these videos of myself, right? And a lot of you guys don't, I'll be frank. Drew Darden, he posts videos. Flex, he posts videos. You know, there's a trend there. Even Mario Miami has posted videos of himself. Even Cormo, even though Cormo's videos are kind of cringe and I think he's got some level of retardation. But I'm really at ease making these videos because I spent so much time in call centers. I was a top performer, as I've said in other videos, because my speaking voice is really good. Lots of practice, and I know how to fill up empty air with my voice. A lot of it will just be meaningless garbage, kind of, but you have to have it lead into things that are important, right? But I'm not going to get into that about how to speak on camera properly. But I can see myself on the camera recording on the PC. So I see what I look like, and that's not a big deal, right? My voice is a little better than my appearance, but that's fine. Once I lose all the weight, that'll change. But yeah, I'm not an incel. I know you mentioned incel on a forum. You you're you basically get ganged up on and have a whole bunch of other users telling you you're an incel. So that's what happens with me. If I mention incel, I get people like Based Baby, jumping on me saying, well, you're an incel. And it's like, well, no, I'm not. Like, on a lot of these forums, if you're just, simply unattractive or ugly, they automatically say you're an incel. You know, that's just the way it goes. It's just an insult, it seems to be. It's not actually it's not used properly as a term to define a certain type of person. It's used as an insult. You're an incel. Basically, it means you're ugly. Just tell the fucking person they're ugly. Don't say they're an incel, right? You know. But yeah, I lost a lot of my friends in recent years because of jealousy. And, one of my good friends, I used to be a good friend, he had called me an incel before. He was extremely jealous of me, right? He was, I think, seeing me as a rival because, he's more of an incel than me. And I don't think there's any hope of him turning his life around because he spends all his time playing nerdy games, doesn't socialize. He's gotten pretty bad looking, really overweight. His name is Chris, and I feel kind of bad for him because he harbors negativity towards other people and just doesn't let it go. And like to me, he harbors negativity and just holds on to it. Right? I try not to hold on to negativity. It's like holding on to a lit firecracker in your closed fist. Right? It's just you're gonna hurt yourself holding on to negativity. Right? I'm not perfect though. Right? Sometimes it takes me a while to get over things. It hurts me that people that I thought were my friends just cut me off from their life, and want nothing more to do with me. It hurts me, right? Especially when they don't really give a reason. I've had multiple friends cut me off, and it's disheartening, right? But I came into this world alone, and I will leave alone, right? Doesn't matter if I have a wife or a girlfriend, I'll still be leaving this world alone when I die. And you know, I'll talk about sometimes how I hate life, I don't enjoy it, and I'm depressed. But I'd like to live to be an old age. I'd like to see 80 years old, and that could happen, despite my health issues. Um, I might outlive my siblings, right? Because they're not in the worst shape, but they don't take care of themselves as well as they should. And I mean, I don't either, but I'm trying to change that. Get in shape, walking every day, eating a pretty healthy diet, and I'll fall backwards and go a little while and eat lots of garbage, and then go back to dieting. As long as I'm consistently losing weight, that's what matters. So, but it really bothers me that people I thought were my friends would just cut me off, cut me out of their life, and want nothing more to do with me. It really, really bothers me. It just really bothers me. But yeah, I do know some incels. I know a couple, that are actually incels. One guy I know, he's overweight. He's quite ugly, and he tells himself things to cope, which drives me crazy. It's like, face reality. Don't tell yourself things just so you can cope harder. Face reality. I hate it when people tell themselves things to cope instead of facing reality. Reality is harsh, and he wouldn't face reality. I haven't associated with him in years, but I've known him for almost 20 years, and he hasn't had a girlfriend in probably more than 10. Like I said, he's not very good looking, he's really overweight. The only place he goes is to the gym. He goes to the gym, and despite going to the gym for over 10 years, he's still really overweight because he doesn't know how to train properly. And he tells himself lies about how looks don't matter and women like fat, ugly men, and it's lies. It's cope, and it drives me crazy when people do that. And he hates attractive men. He hates attractive men because I remember when I was decent looking, right? Gym maxed, and anytime somebody complimented me on my appearance, it would cause him to have some kind of meltdown, and he would become enraged, and he would get in my face and challenge me to a fight because it would make him so upset and jealous. And he's an incel. That's an incel. That's incel behavior, right? And I'm scared of him. I'm scared of him because he's unhinged, and he has mental health problems, and he doesn't take medication, and he doesn't really have friends. Right? He's an incel. Then there's another guy I know. He's a little more peaceful than that, but I'm not really good friends with this other guy. But one of my used to be friends that I was talking about, Chris, he's good friends with this other guy, and I went to school with this other guy, and he would be in school for a matter of weeks or months, then drop out for a matter of weeks or months because of bullying, because everybody would target him and try to bring him down because of his behavior, because he'd do the weirdest shit. Like, me and my friends would watch him fascinated from across the classroom, and he'd sit there at his desk and like pick big chunks of white stuff out of his head, and it would fall off his head onto the desk in front of him, and he'd have this big mound of white flakes on his desk, and he'd wipe it off after he was done, and we'd watch, and it was just like, it was fascinating, right? It was just so strange and unusual. It was a distraction from what we were supposed to be doing, right? Like teenage kids do. And like, he's really ugly. He spoke with a really bad lisp. Had a really obnoxious laugh. He's really skinny. no muscle at all, never did any kind of physical work or working out or manual labor or anything like that. And really skinny, but with visible fat rolls hanging off of him. Just, ew, absolute disgusting. And I'm not aware if he hates attractive men or sexually active men or women for his lack of success with women, but I do know he's never had a girlfriend. He's never had a girlfriend. And I know before, I told him before that he looked like shit and he was ugly and he couldn't handle it. Then he started asking people, like, am I bad looking? And they would lie to him and say, no, you're a good looking man. And, like, it's cope because he knows he's not good looking. So, why would he want others to clarify and lie to him saying that he is good looking, right? Like, I know my place and I know that I'm not a very good looking guy. I don't think I'm really ugly. Just, I think I'm just pretty unattractive, but I'm not going to ask people their opinion because most people in person aren't going to tell you the truth. They're going to tell you the nice answer. If you go online on a forum or a message board or something and ask people that question, they will more likely tell you the truth because there's no fear of repercussions, right? And, you know, the MISC is generous, and I think they're kind of biased towards me because a lot of the boyos on there, they know me so long, and they're a fan of mine, and they'll say, you're a good-looking man, shit like that, but they're biased, right? I've went on other forums and asked the question, and they some of them will say, oh, you're a 10 out of 10. Others will say, oh, you're kind of ugly, and it's all kind of all over the place, right? But you know, I'm a human being. I see myself. I'm aware of my appearance, right? I'm not particularly good looking at all. I'm pretty unattractive, right? I need to lose the weight. I need to fix the balding. And I do those things, maybe shower more, brush my teeth, you know, practice better skincare, keep my beard trimmed regularly at the barber shop, and I'll be doing pretty good for myself, I think, right? And yeah, what else to say? But yeah, those two people I mentioned, I think those are the only two actual incels I know. Like, a lot of my friends that are middle aged, same as in my same age group, they're in real danger of becoming incels. Real danger. You know, they're just really bad looking and ugly and fat and have no social life, and they harbor negativity inside themselves, and they just don't let negativity go. They just harbor it. And it bothers me when I go online on the MISC or something and I get met with people calling me an incel. It makes me feel bad for them because they must really hate the world. They must have been really hurt by somebody to want to bring other people down so badly, right? But yeah, I don't have much else to say. We'll cut it off there. Here shortly, I'm going for my hour-long walk to get a coffee at the coffee shop and have a few smokes and just chill out, enjoy the evening, and same as always. I'm starting to feel a little better. Like, for some reason, the majority of the day I'll feel like shit, and then when it gets closer to the end of the day, I start feeling a lot better. But yeah, we'll cut her off there, and I'll see you guys on the MISC.